I have very little room to move here because we've got the microphone set up. Hopefully the audio will pick up. This is my final video of my 20s. Yes, I'm recording this on, well, yesterday for you guys who've seen it on the day of release. The last day of my 20s, because tomorrow I turn 30 and yeah. Basically, I'm just here to give a bit of a talk about the MK11 critique. I was going to put this at the end of the video, but I thought the video's fucking 4 hours, 4 minutes, and like, like, you know, like 4 milliseconds or 44 milliseconds, whatever. No, I have to stop. I'm putting this as a separate video and just kind of talk about the way I do these critiques and such. So I'm taking this off because it's a bit too warm. Why are you wearing the hoodie then? Fuck you, that's why. So basically the critique, I started working on it, I don't recall, this is the thing, it's consumed my life so much since I started that it's become a blur. It was either 1 month ago or 2. I don't recall, but I've been working on it for so long that time barely exists. I've not done much else since I started. I've largely just been working on it because basically when the news came out that MK11's content cycle was finally over, you know, like 6 months after the last actual content, thanks NetherRealm, thanks for that, thanks for keeping us informed. Fuck. After that, I decided, well, now's the time to get started, work on it. Well, it wasn't necessarily straight away. I did a bit of work on it, obviously, and every now and then I would think of something to say and write that down. Oh, I need to write that down, put it in the script later. As far as actually working properly on the critique as like a major project, like me writing it and recording and editing, that I decided to do pretty much as soon as I realised, you know, it'd be a really good date to release this on? The 8th of October, because that's my 30th birthday and MK's 29th. What better time for me to put out this big video people have been anticipating, where I'm going to tear down the modern incarnation of MK and call NetherRealm out on their fucking bullshit, than my and MK's shared birthday. Yeah, like if anything was going to make me believe in fate, it would be that MK, which is such a big part of my life, has the same birthday as me. That's weird, right? That was when I started doing it, but that meant that I only had like a month or 2 to do it, so I'd spend pretty much full days just working on that and not doing a whole lot else. I mean, obviously I had videos and stuff on me on the monitor, watching stuff while I'm editing, just to kind of keep me sane. My typical audio recording session is typically about 20 to 30 minutes long, right? That's how I typically do things, so I don't wear my voice out too much. With this, sometimes, especially with the Aftermath chapters, because I tried to do all of one chapter in one session, sometimes it'd be 40 minutes. Like, all told, including the smaller ones towards the end, just like little bits of pickups, I ended up recording for like, I think it was 40 sessions. About 30 of them were full-size ones, going for at least 20 minutes. And then the later ones were a bit shorter, but yeah, that's a lot of audio. And keep in mind, when I record audio, that's like, usually about 2/3 of it is unusable. It's either pauses that I'm removing, breathing, flubs, or just sometimes I get lost in the script and I try to find where it was, or sometimes I'm like, well, I've made a change to the script because it's just better worded the way I found to say it, so now I need to go back and change it in the script so I can easily copy paste that to be the subtitles for the video. I'm surprised more YouTubers don't do that, just copy paste the script. I guess because you have to keep it updated, but yeah, just do it, you lazy cunts. Yes, I've been working on this almost non-stop. I've had a few breaks here and there. Occasionally I'll play Phasmophobia with friends. I went to watch some John Williams music being played live. I don't remember if it was this week or last week, to be honest. Sunday, it was on Sunday, yeah. It was last week. Or this week, depending on whether you view Sunday as the start or end of the week. Whatever. Point is, I occasionally would take breaks, but because of how big, you know, this is a monumental task. It's fucking 4 hours long! And so, with it being such a huge undertaking, I didn't know how long it was going to take to finish it. So I was constantly like, well, if I don't work on it now, I might not have enough time to finish it in time for the deadline I've set for myself. That's why there's less videos, or less extra videos towards the end of the production cycle. Early on there were a few who would be like, I'll take a break for a day or two, work on this other video, put that out, and get back to the critique. Here though, towards the end, it's just, but what if I can't? The video has been done for a few days now, so if I'd taken a few more days out, made a few more videos, I might not have finished it in time. If that was the case, my plan was to split it into 4, you know, because I edited it in 4 pieces. Hour 1, which is everything before the story. Hour 2, which is everything up to Jade's chapter. Hour 3, which is the rest of the main story. Hour 4 is Aftermath and the conclusion. Some of them are a bit over, some of them are a bit under, but yeah, that's how it would have been released. And even had this idea for the thumbnail. The thumbnail is like a red Sub-Zero punching through a skull, frozen skull, and that's like chunks of the MK11 cover. What I would have done is recorded that same fatality on Devora, Robocop, and Spawn to get different blood colours, then each one would be a different blood colour. I probably would have had like green for Aftermath and like grey for pre-story, then like red for part 1 and of the story and blue for part 2 or something like that, but that's how I would have gone about it. Fortunately, I didn't need to do that. Is there anything else interesting to talk about the critique, other than how long it took? Well, I'd like to thank Brusque Poet, Sonic RXD, and True Underdog Gaming for looking over it. I mean, I didn't give them a ton of time. I didn't try to set like a deadline for it or anything, but I said, any chance you guys could look over these 4 videos, a total 4 hours? Now granted, when I sent them to those guys, not only were those videos 480 or 360p, just so I could actually render them and upload them without it taking fucking forever, because the final video render took about 5 hours, and the final upload was going to take even longer until I compressed it a bit with Handbrake, because it got to about, I think it was like 15-20% in the span of like, I think it was like 15% in 3 hours or something. I was like, well, just in case, I'll see how long it will take me to upload a compressed version, and the compressed version a lot quicker, because the video is like 20 gigabytes, the compressed version is about 9. Yeah, fortunately, I was able to get it uploaded with a couple of days to spare. And patrons got early access today of recording, but yesterday watching. Doesn't really affect much by the time you see this, because it'll already be out. Making this, though, it's kind of made me reevaluate a few things. One, never do this again. Never try and make one of these big videos all at once I'm going to have a goal. Here's what I'm going to try and aim for. I mean, the intent was try and aim for that, not force myself to. It'd be nice if I could release it then, but if not, it's fine. But I ended up deciding at some point that's when I have to release it. Never do that again. If you're working on a video like this, something this long, don't make it this huge thing that you're working on constantly and set yourself a deadline. Don't do that, because it's draining. You know, the last few days I've had little drive to work on other videos, but I know I have to, because while making this video I've not been working on other videos, and because of the nature of it, it's going to get limited ads. I don't know how it's going to do view wise. Obviously this video is potentially at least not for a while, not going to make back the money that was effectively lost in not making other videos instead of it. So please share the video around to get more eyes on it, so I can try and recoup the losses, as it were. Another thing I might change with regards to at least MK, if not necessarily other NetherRealm properties, but at least with MK, because I know I'll have more to talk about with MK compared to, say, Injustice, is I might not release the video, might not make it after all the content's out. I might just do more of like a chamois approach, like he did with No Man's Sky, because the way he did it was, here's the review of the base game, then like a year later, here's another review of what it is like now, and something like that. So like if I did this with 11, it would have been, here's the base game, maybe with like Shang Tsung and Nightwolf at that point. Then year 2 would be post Aftermath, and then year 3 would be just Kombat Pack 2. And that's part of the reason why I don't want to do stuff like that, because, you know, you can never predict this stuff. Some people, before it was announced that the whole thing was over, people would say, well, it's MK11 Ultimate, clearly it's over. And I'm there thinking, yes, clearly a Mortal Kombat game having Ultimate in the title is an indication that the content cycle is over. Like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, the second of 3 iterations of MK3, you dopey motherfucker. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Fuck you. Shut the fuck up. So, yeah, obviously, it's impossible to tell when the content cycle of these games is going to be over. NetherRealm is effectively, it's like that meme, why are you the way that you are? That's what NetherRealm is. But I might not do these like this anymore. You know, like, if I did Injustice 2 base game, Injustice 2 DLC. I can't imagine I'd have much to say about any of those guest characters. Whereas with MK, I probably could have made a 10-20 minute video just about the Kombat Pack 1. I mean, you see that in the critique. It's a lengthy sequence just about that. The goal with these is to try and be accurate in the long run. I want the video to be able to stand up. I mean, if I just make a video, here's what the game's like after release. Here's some things to complain about. Well, if they fixed it, that criticism doesn't hold up anymore. And that's something I don't want, but at the same time, the longer I put it off with extra content, it could be something massive like this one. I mean, this is, you know, because they're all getting shorter each time. It was like 2 hours and 10 minutes for the original, and then the next one's like 1 hour and 45 for MKX. Injustice 2 is like 1 hour and a half. And then you get to this, and it's fucking 4 hours! So yeah, it kind of bucks the trend, and not just because of the DLC. I mean, even without as much DLC as there was, it still would have been 3 hours long. Or at least like 2 hours 45. So I don't want these videos to be these gargantuan processes to make, but at the same time, they kind of have to be. So I'm a little torn. That's why I'm not saying definitively one way or another whether I'll do it. But my normal approach is wait till all the content's out and then make it. And people will still ask, no matter how many times, no matter how many places, no matter how many ways I say, when all the DLC is out, that is when I'll start work on the critique. People still ask. Even while I'm working on it, I've announced I'm working on it, people will still say, where's the critique? And if I complain about it, or even bring it up, some people go, oh, you're just ungrateful, you're like Linkara when he did his History of Power Rangers video. Fuck you. So please, once again, with other NetherRealm games, with the new IP and with Injustice 3 or whatever, those critiques will happen once all the DLC is out. With MK, I'm not decided yet. I'll decide when the next game comes out. So when MK's out, I'll make a decision, and then I will let you know. And once I've let you know, assume I have not changed my mind unless I say outright that I have changed my mind. Please don't ask when these videos are coming out. Combine that with how big an undertaking this was. It's been 4 hours working on it for like a month or two, almost non-stop, doing very little else with my free time. It's quite draining. And so it creates a situation where I'm like, you are sapping my will to work on it. So please don't do that. Please don't ask when the thing is out. I appreciate people's curiosity. I appreciate your excitement for the video, but please don't do that. Don't. I think the only other thing worth saying about the video is there's one thing that I didn't actually really go into, and that was because I noticed it very last minute. Like, I was putting in the last few clips. One of them is the part where I talk about the fact that Hanzo is in the background of chapter 11, even though he's died in chapter 10. And so you get to this part and there he is in the background because they fucked up with the cutscene. And what I found while I went back to record that shot was they updated it at some point. At some point, without telling anyone, they updated the scene and fixed it so that Hanzo is there. And it like with the fact they fixed Raiden's amulet, you know, removed it from the story mode. I didn't realise that until I was making the video. You know, when I rewatched the cutscenes to write the script, that was cutscenes that on YouTube that had been recorded like when the game first came out. And then the footage I had is from around that time as well. Like, it would have been pre-patch. And so I had no idea. I've been working off this footage for like 2 years now. I had no idea that they'd made these changes. So it made me think, what if any other things I've criticised about the mistakes they made in the cutscenes might have been fixed? I know for a fact they didn't fix any of the MK9 ones, like when Jade beats up Shiva and Shiva's costume changes between shots. But then thinking, what about Injustice 1? Did they ever fix when they put the wrong Hawk Girl in a cutscene in Gotham? Maybe. I mean, the footage I'm working off is pretty old, it's possible. And then with MK11, it's like, well, they fixed Scorpion, they fixed the Raiden thing, they didn't fix Kano. I know it for a fact, they did not fix Kano's gear. I mentioned that in the critique. But it's got me wondering, is there anything else that I've mentioned that they might have changed? Any gear pieces or anything that I've just not noticed? And I'm there thinking, I have no idea. Rest assured, I'm not leaving that out intentionally. It's just that I didn't notice and didn't realise they would ever patch any of the pre-rendered cutscenes until last minute when I was trying to make sure that I could render out this video that would take 5 hours to render and maybe longer to upload. So I'm not being dishonest here. It's just I wouldn't have noticed. If there are any, please let me know. That could be worth bringing up in a video at some point. But as far as I know, I didn't miss any. But maybe I did. No. So if I did, let me know. So of course, this also raises the question. You know, the critiques I've been working on since 2016, pretty much all in order, right? You know, MK9, which yeah, you might have noticed I switched over to calling it MK9 in the critique. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. I mean, I stuck with 2011 because the game is Mortal Kombat parentheses 2011, not Mortal Kombat 9. But with MK11, it's made things more confusing. So sometimes I do slip up and say 2011 or MK11 when I mean the other. And just to avoid anyone getting confused when I switch talking about one and the other, it's easier to just call it MK9. With the Cannonball, I'm still working on about the different depictions of MK2. That was, you know, written and recorded prior to this. I've got the audio for that pretty much all done. That will continue using 2011 as the term, because I can't be asked going back and re-recording all that. But going forward, I'm going to be calling it MK9 for simplicity's sake. But yeah, so I did MK9 in 2016, then 2017 it's Injustice, 2018 MKX, 2019 Injustice 2, 2020. Since MK11 wasn't done with its DLC yet, well, by the time the critique on the comic came out, it turned out the content cycle was over, they just didn't tell us. Because of that, I did the comic instead. Now I'm all caught up. You know, NetherRealm might put out a new game at the start of next year that they've just not announced yet. I mean, maybe we'll get an announcement at the Game Awards at the end of the year, and then the game will come out in April. So would that be the next critique? Maybe. Probably not. But this also raised... But of course the question is, if I'm not doing that, what will it be? I'm not decided yet. One possibility is Tekken 7, which I mentioned, like... I think it was in the MKX video. I mentioned Tekken 7 would need to be criticised at some point. So that's a possibility. Some people have suggested the possibility of doing one for Street Fighter V. The issue with Street Fighter V is I only got into Street Fighter in the last decade, right? You know, and even then, it took a while because I was like, I'm going to get Street Fighter 4 when I think it was Arcade Edition came out. I was like, well, I'll get that. And in the meantime, I'll just read up on all the characters and figure out what all the plots for all the cast are, so I could be caught up in time for that. And I just didn't get into it through 4. I just wasn't really that into it. With 5, though, I did. I was able to get more into it with Street Fighter V. But this isn't like MK. I have been with MK since like 2002 or 3. No, the series means a lot to me. I'm very invested in the setting and the characters. So it's easy for me to notice issues with the writing where things are just inconsistent or where things could be done better. How this thing could have been done better because I have knowledge of the setting, arguably more than some of the writers do. But with something like Street Fighter, it'd be harder to do something like that. I couldn't just say... One issue people come out with is Chun-Li is weirdly weak-willed and impulsive in this story, which is apparently incorrect. I can believe that would be the case. There's not much I can do to really address that or put into words where that's an issue, like, compared to the prior games. So doing a Street Fighter V one would be tough. Tekken 7, though, I've been into Tekken even longer than I've been into MK. I mean, I did drop off a bit after when Tekken 3 came out because I didn't play 3. Then on PS2, I got Tag Tournament 1, and then later on I got 5. So I got properly back into Tekken and Soul Calibur around 2005 or 6. And so I was back in on those series. So Tekken is one I could do because Tekken 7, there's a lot to criticise about that story. And I will be doing a Wasted Potential at some point. I could maybe do a Dead or Alive one because I've been into DOA since like 2001. Yeah, so something like that I could do. I could criticise DOA 5, but DOA 5's doesn't infuriate me, neither does DOA 6's, quite the way Tekken 7's does. Because Tekken 7's story is woeful. That's a contender. That's a contender to be the next big critique. But you know, it also depends on what NetherRealm puts out. We don't know what the next thing will be. No, there's all these rumours about it being MK12. There's apparently some leak about it being MK12 and it's going to continue from Aftermath and undo the Sindel retcon or whatever. Undo the Sindel retcon, for me, is like the first sign that a leak is bullshit. You know, this is like, you know, you see certain characters in a league, like, oh, here's like what the next 6 fighters for Super Smash Bros. Are going to be. And it's like, it's going to have Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. Yeah, the ones everyone wants. Yeah, sure. Like, you can tell it's bullshit. MK does stuff like that as well. Havoc is going to be added to the game, and Nitara, and I'm like, fuck off, no they're not. Why the fuck are you lying? Yeah, there's just some things like that, and that strikes me as, this is bullshit. I don't believe it. I don't believe for a second that they're going to undo the Sindel retcon like this. I don't believe that MK12 is going to be the next game. It'd be weird for them to do another MK game so soon, unless it was a crossover with Injustice. That's the only way I can see the next game being MK. The only thing that would give me a reason to believe that it could possibly be the case is that next year is a big anniversary. But then again, even then, it's like people say Smash is like, well, there's a big like 20th anniversary for this franchise, or 30th, right when the final character is going to be announced. Clearly, that's what it's going to be. But it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, MK's history when it comes to anniversaries is kind of fucking hilarious. MK9 released on the 19th anniversary year. MKX, 2 years early for an anniversary. MK11 was early for an anniversary, but it kept its content cycle going long enough that theoretically they could have put out some more content for the big 30th anniversary. We get the announcement that MK11's content cycle is over and they're working on the next game, plus the 2021 movie and the second animated movie, all in the year before the 30th. You know, MK is really bad at celebrating the anniversary. You know, they don't even put out like a costume. Like MKX and MK9 didn't get an anniversary costume pack. Just why not? They don't have to be working on the game currently to put out a content pack for it. Like some little quick costumes. Here's some cool classic costumes to celebrate the big like 20th, 25th or 30th anniversary. The closest thing to an anniversary thing we have gotten, I think Raiden and/or Sub-Zero released for Injustice 2 in the year of the 25th anniversary of MK. I think so. I'm off the top of my head, but I can't, don't quote me on that. But that'd be the closest we've got. So I'm doubtful it's going to be another MK. I think it's far more likely to be the new IP. I mean, they've mentioned they want to work on a new IP. I feel like that wouldn't have come up if that wasn't the next thing they were going to be allowed to work on. WB was going to say, now before you do that, you have to make a third Injustice game. I doubt they would have brought it up. That's just going to turn people against WB. It's like, let them make the new IP, WB. Stop forcing them to make more Injustice. But I feel like, especially with the Injustice animated movie that's coming out, that could, kind of tide Injustice fans over until the next game. Most likely it'll be the new IP, whether that is. Whether that's a Marvel fighting game, as people keep theorising about, or just something brand new and fresh, I don't know. I think it's a safe bet that there will be an MK character in there, maybe as like the last DLC character, or in the middle of the content cycle, here's a DLC character of MK, release him on the 8th of October. I mean, but yeah, okay. They did technically kind of celebrate an anniversary for MK when they released Terminator on the 8th of October 2 years ago, because I think Kombat Pack 2 was like the 8th of October as well. So it's like, if it's something that's released in October, it'll probably be as close to the 8th as they can get, because that's the MK anniversary. That's as close as we get. Fucking Terminator. You know what I mean? But I think I've rambled long enough. My throat's sore. I need to stop, get some rest, and finally play some video games. I've been, tried out Stranger in Paradise, the trial, and that's pretty good. It's got some Neo influence. I like some of the combat. Kind of weird. It's basically like a Final Fantasy 1 isekai reimagining, even though there was a Japanese manga that did the same thing in like 2016. But whatever, started playing the Yuffie DLC for FF7 remake. That's quite good. I like how Yuffie plays. I like her little run animation where she puts her arms out to balance herself. That's cute. So that's me done for my 20s. See you guys when I'm 30. Oh no, I feel the change is happening.